Everyone, and welcome. I'm Jenna Blackert.
And I'm Leonka Reyna.
And this is the Hot Hustle Morning Show.
Good morning.
And it's also the very first day of our newest summit.
Woo!
And today we're gonna talk to you first. And we're gonna talk to you about manifesting and truly actualizing from that internal landscape from within.
That's right. So let's talk about a little bit before we do all of that, because we've got a lot of new people joining us, and welcome. I always want to try to bring people into what it means for Hout and Hustle and why we have that as our title. And so for me, we kind of have, she and I also have a little bit of different definitions, but we've redefined what it means to be Hout and Hustle. And for me, it's, couture services and businesses that we bring to you daily that are all about luxury that comes from a place of giving back to the earth. It's no longer is it just luxury for luxury's sake. Today, people who are truly have things that they are valuing in their business and services benefit the earth, benefit humanity. It's not just luxury for luxury's sake, like I said, not just for the ooh, but really for the embodiment of, let's have an earth that we can live on. Let's choose with our dollars in that way, or whatever your currency is, right? That is today's new what's hot. And hustle for me is it's all about a collaboration and a movement, and a movement that has its own inertia, because it is all about giving back to the world. I always say it's not Dolly Parton's 9 to 5, right? Hustle, working 9 to 5. It's not that anymore. It's really about collaboration and working together, because we all want to create a new earth here. So that's where we get that from. And Jenna likes to call hustle, what is it? She says it's also about a being, a state of being. It's,
I think
strutting your stuff.
Yeah, strutting your stuff, being all of you.
In all of your
being
awesomeness.
Moved by the world and by consciousness.
Yeah, there
Absolutely.
You go. Yeah, it is an inertia that has its own consciousness. So this is, much bigger than us, and continue to invite your friends to come play and listen in to all of the great speakers. And we will continue. We are live every Tuesday and Thursday. So we have a live morning show every Tuesday and Thursday. So you can catch us at the same time this morning and every morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays after we finish the summit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and please participate on the chat. I mean, we love playing as a togetherness here, as oneness, and we love hearing whatever comes through you.
Yes.
And you'll notice some of our regulars are probably like, come on, let's talk.
Yeah, some of the lounge members are already chiming in, but somebody wrote, let's say Hout, like Hout Couture, Hout Cuisine. Yeah, that is how we chose the name. And today's Hout, what's Hout? And, really, and I like to say hot because I'm from Texas.
It's always hot in
right?
Texas.
What's Hout today? Basically is those things that actually give back to ourselves and to humanity and to embetterment of the world. So yeah, that's it. All of the premise. Let's dive into, today, and I always like to give the kind of the planetary and solar news. And today we have a really fun conjunction of the various different planets in the sky. And I always want to say, and I'll go into this a little bit later, but it's by no surprise that our summit was actually on this very auspicious day, as there are so many energies that are swirling that might be making us feel contracted, that make us feel expanded. I have felt both super tired and drained and off and frantic at the same time, super exhilarated, and we've got a ton.
All collided.
We all got I'm just gonna curse. We got a shit ton this weekend done, because we were super excited and working on adrenaline for you. And it's just been fun. It's been so much, so many different feelings all at one. But it is a very grand time to have something like this as a global change summit be launching today. And like I said, by no accident, I know everything we've been doing here has been completely guided. So this will be a really fun event for all of you.
Yeah.
All right.
Today, later, we're talking to Addison Ames, and he is going to talk about timeline jumping. But before that, we're going to talk about getting into all of you. And we're going to do that first by getting us all really, really present.
That's right. And so I thought it was really cute that somebody said that H is silent. Yes, but most people use the word as how and hot in the playful pop culture. So that's kind of how we do this as well. So a lot of people have been using how and hot as the new way to say hot. And so playfully we are using that, but we're redefining, what it is to be today's how and hot. The other thing we have is tomorrow we have a really great lineup of guests. We have three speakers. So tomorrow will be a little bit different because we've got some really great, phenomenal people joining us. But we wanted to make sure that we had time to get everyone in on this summit. So we have a very full lineup. So tomorrow we'll work a little bit different. We'll get started right at 11 with our first speaker. So please be on time and join us, and then we'll get into that. And then today, I know that we're having fun here, and this is a morning show, and I always want to be expressive of that. But I also want us to drop in and really come and be super present for this summit. There is some really great information that are going to be changing us and our upgraded DNA. And so to be able to integrate that, we would want you to be present. So let's just take a breath here. Yeah. And let's just clear a little bit. So anything that you believe this summit should be or shouldn't be, or you should be with the summit, through the summit, after the summit, who you think we should be, any good or bad or negative thoughts and connotations or expectations around that, would you destroy and uncreate that, please? Whew. Thank you. And that just allows us to just be open and just receive whatever is light for us. There's a lot of different speakers that are going to present different ideas. And what we always say is that we present a lot of different speakers and their ideas, because what is true for you may not be true or feel light to someone. And one way that you can have that discernment is if it feels light for you, that is what's true for you. And if it's something that feels kind of like it drops in kind of heavy, well, then that's okay. You can just let it be, but let's just be open to receiving. And anything that doesn't allow that, we take a deep breath. Nice. And one more thing, everywhere where you've scattered any pieces of ourselves throughout the universe, whoa, could we go and collect those right now, please? Take a deep breath. Let's hold it here. Nice.
I keep pulling those pieces back in.
Yes.
Pull them.
Pull them all. Yes, even that one. The one that, yes, far, close. That was right next to you. Nice. You can do that a couple more times too.
Yeah, let's do that together one more time at least. Go ahead and take a deep breath in, almost as if there's warm steam coming up through your spine.
That's
collecting all those pieces and bringing them down. Noticing the gravity, noticing the earth below you. And now would you reach out to all the other speakers that are part of today and contribute a little joy to them?
That are part of all of the summit.
Like bringing all the oneness in here.
Yes. So much gratitude there.
And everyone that will listen in the future.
Yes.
Without the time lines. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. All right, so we have a really great lineup set up for you today, and I feel like my voice and everything has just changed. Woo, beautiful. Yay.
Thanks for the gratitude.
Yeah, thank you for the chat.
Yeah.
Let's see. And so we can just a little bit more of announcements. You can always find us at houthustle.com to share with your friends. Also on the social media at houthustlemedia.com. Sorry, that's on Instagram. So it's just houthustlemedia
on Instagram.
And at leonka.reina on Instagram, Hey Jeneth on Instagram, and also on TikTok. So both of those are the same on TikTok. But you can find all of this information from How Hustle Media on Instagram. And of course, if you're joining us, we're going to be doing different daily live giveaways and different drawings. We've got different books to give away. We've got activations from some of the speakers. We're going to have a really great and fun time. So if you're joining us on the replay, we love you. Big kisses. And then also feel free to write us. We're going to be doing a lot of, there's going to be a lot of speakers that are going to invite you to come play in their world a little bit more. If you have any questions or concerns about anything, we're always just right here. You just write us at team@houthustle.com. Please, let us know also if you have any changes, and we love to hear all the good stuff too. And I promise we'll also register you to win a prize for that too. So let us know how you're feeling and what you've got going on. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation and our gift for you.
The presentation.
A presentation of love. It's presents, right? With hearts around.
I did make some graphics for it though, you guys. So let me go ahead and put an official recording going. Hey, all right, you guys. So one of the things that we've been doing within the How Hustle land is we've been kind of just following the dots. And I kind of had this feeling last night when I put this presentation together, quite literally, is that I want to take you guys along with us so that you become aware of kind of some of the differences that we are. I've personally been diving deep, having experiences across these lands for 30 years. I'm not 30. The first 20 years were a little bit tricky for me. I had to get so miserable that I then began to learn, maybe I should follow consciousness instead of following what everyone else is saying in this reality. And in doing so, my life has infinitely changed.
Yeah.
And I brought Leonka along with me,
I found her
back in 2011.
Yeah.
So
that was a synchronicity as well.
Yeah, most definitely.
That's a whole nother story about our start together, but we'll get you clued in, get you caught up.
So today's presentation is going to have a little bit of that in it, where we are wandering through
and it's really
many of the messages we've already, if you've been on the show, you'll be like, oh, we're going to talk about living a life without doubt. What? Right? We're going to talk about, focusing more on our internal landscape than our external world, right? We're going to talk about really creating some unknown experiences versus living always from the past and the familiar experiences. These are some of the things that we've talked about, but in order for you to really integrate it, you really have to have an experience. So then later, after we kind of awaken, and I'm hoping you'll get so excited about this, you're just ready to dive deep into an experience of this.
Yeah. So Jenna does have some slides, and I was playfully calling it a presentation, but she wanted to have some graphics here because she felt it was really important for us to be able to see and to read it, because that is how our brains wire this information. And of course, their subconscious records everything. So, but sometimes you want to be able to recall this information. And so while we do have some slides or some graphics here, just know that everything that we do is it's completely playing with the energies and working and following those, like she said, those connecting those dots of the divine to bring you this information very much has been channeled. And so when we talk about these things, remember, it's a dialogue, and this is a dialogue for you and your higher self. So we don't want to just be, one of those things that are just talking at you. This is a participation and completely wrapped with the big bow of love.
Yeah.
Whoa, so what does it mean to be superhuman?
I know. I feel that the more that I dive deep into some of these lower brainwave states, like taking my brain from a high beta state to a beta learning state, down to an alpha state, into some theta states, gamma states, delta states, right? Through meditation, I've really become, in some way, in my own world, I've crafted and changed how my brain works. And I really wanted this presentation for you guys that really want this too. I've shared in the past, I used to have so much noise in my brain that it was like the 1980 rabbit ears where I had to go, let me adjust these things so that I could get like a word in edgewise from just a single angel. And then that's moved from working with some single angels into working with some of the galactic constellations and channeling and getting information and awareness from there. And that's what I think it means to be superhuman on planet Earth these days, is really to have some of these superpowers of healing. I have this weird ass fifth dimensional frequency that came through me about 4 or 5 years ago called awesomeness. You're going to get to experience that today. And one of the things, it feels so delicious for one, but one of the things that it does is it kind of helps us reach out beyond this universe to heal the body. And I've been on tables and I do this hands-on weird ass processing where these bodies are moving, I'm not even touching them and they're just moving and they're changing. And sometimes they're changing for limiting beliefs and limiting patterns. And sometimes they're changing just to, because there's something that's not, there's disease in the body.
Sure.
Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
So today I really want you guys to walk away so that you're not constantly falling back into patterns. And we're really going to focus here a little on lack and worthiness and separation.
But it could be any of those patterns,
it could be anything.
Any of your repetitive patterns, whether they come through relationships, whether they come through codependency. What are those patterns that we may not even be aware of? Those are those subconscious, pre-programmed, maybe you've heard of this idea before, things that come up that kind of that operate in behind the scenes that are recreating some of these things that cause us the most strife.
Yeah. So I want you to think about, like, if there is one thing that you notice that just keeps going on in your mind, or one thing that you just keep doing and you're kind of like, I did it again. What would it be like to live a life without that? Right? Just kind of go in your own world and it's like, okay, if I never felt lack, whether it's around money or sex or, whatever it could be. There's a lot of things I can think of, and let's not talk about all of them.
But those are
if
just
you
to jog your memory, right? Just to kind of drop in,
if
and you might have that.
If you didn't have to have that pattern, what might your world be like? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I wanted to start just briefly kind of with my younger story, and Lianka has a younger story too, that's really brought us to this work. And while I'm going through my story, maybe think about your story and your narrative on how, you've been kind of pushed down through, this world, right? I mean, this world's been kicking us around for how many years now? And for me, until I found this work, I just kept getting more and more contracted. And it wasn't until I found this work that I actually felt that I could be free. So I guess it was first noticed when I was in 4th or 5th grade. I had a learning disability. And at that time in the 80s, they actually called you LD, literally for a learning disorder.
Oh, yes.
And it started that identity within me. And there was coping mechanisms that I found out on my own. And to date, I cannot read aloud. My biggest awakening around my dyslexia was that neither could Richard Branson. And I thought, well, shoot, if Richard Branson can make it to where he's made it in this world, well, then I can make it just a little bit to that degree.
Right.
And it changed my entire belief about what that meant about me and what it meant about how my ADHD has now become like almost one of my superpowers, because I realized that I have these creative freaking things that come to me that nobody else has. I'm like, it's like the universe just drops things in my brain, and it's just like, and then people resonate with it, and then it changes their entire lives. So I really feel like that is a capacity of ADHD, or I'm like kind of on the edge of autism too. And I really feel that these are my superpowers and have made me superhuman. And there was trauma with that. I mean, when people are kind of looking at you like, well, she has all these things. I mean, my gosh, the amount of judgment you got when it was like, let's go around the room and everyone read a paragraph.
Oh, yes.
It was just like so damaging to me. I just felt so stupid. And I was the exact opposite of stupid. I actually have quite the IQ. So it just doesn't show up in the ways that it shows up in other people. So that's kind of where I wanted to start this conversation. I mean, that's for me, I've overcome all this adversity. And I think our biggest win was when we were together working. Lianka was managing my business, and we broke that $1 million mark.
Yeah.
And it was quite extraordinary. And then I quit in between, which is why we don't have this massive audience anymore. But, but I think that that's also an important part of that story, right?
Yeah.
That story of identity, right? Because we ebb and flow through this, and we can't make anything right or wrong. And I think for me, actually taking that break was probably quite extraordinary, because I feel like I came back and I really could be here with you and be present. So so that's where it all begins here.
Sure.
So, and you also have some trauma in your past that you've overcome infinitely. Do you want to share that?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is probably the first time I've really said my story in detail live on the air. You've caught pieces of it, but when I was born, my parents were very young, and I was born and let me just tell you, my mother is extraordinary. She changed her whole life, and she now works at Disney. But when and she got her master's like after 60. So there you go. And she does costuming designing, and she's a really creative. So, but what I'm about to say also can be, I was born to the parents of a drug dealer and a drug addict. And so because of the work that I do now, I knew why I was still a very happy kid. I could just see myself choosing my parents. I know that I chose my parents wholeheartedly because of the adversity, but I was like, I know that my spirit still somehow managed to be a super duper happy kid. But one of the things that did happen was that some of those things, that the nourishment that you're supposed to have as a young child in order to have those, develop those relationships of of safety, I didn't have that. Many times my uncles or my aunts that would visit my young parents, they're very young. My mom had me at, I think, 23, and my dad was 22. And so they had this baby. I didn't meet my real father. My real father didn't meet me till I was about 3 months old. And my mom showed up on his 3 months old, showed up on his doorstep and was like, hey, my dad pulls my grandma aside and was like, hey, Mom, Beverly's here. And my grandma was like, who? And she was like, yeah, she's got a baby and she says it's mine. And my grandma goes out and takes one, looks at me, and she said, yeah, that's your kid, Joe. So you got to do what you got to do. So my parents, they moved in together and they had this baby, but at the time they still had like other, some of their brothers and sisters, which are probably 17, 18, living with them in their apartment. And they would hear me crying and crying and crying. These are the stories I got, for hours and hours and hours. And they would say, Ma, finally they would just wrap me up in whatever they could and just take me over to my grandmother's house, which is my father's mother. And they'd be like, Ma, she just keeps crying and crying and crying. And nobody does anything. Like, they just don't wake up. Nobody wakes up, but she's just crying and crying, crying. I don't know what to do. So if you could imagine, taking this young baby, like, they managed to not only get me out of the house, I must have been hours, right? And whisked me away to another house so that I could get care. And so that life went on for, I lived part-time with my grandmother. I called her Mama my grandmother ended up raising me, but for several years of my young life. And my grandmother has stories where she says that she would show up to my house and I would be running around with just a pamper on. And I had learned how to crawl myself down the stairs. And I think I was walking before 1 year old, and I would be walking around the cereal box when I could finally walk and stuff. And I'd show, and when I finally talked to her, she said, I would just offer, like, you want some, Grandma? You want some? Like, offering her some cereal that I've been eating out of the box, because my parents were, they were drug addicts. And so they were unavailable to provide that young nourishment that a child should have. And despite that, I don't have any ill will. I love my parents, but there are some fundamental needs that that happen at that early age that I'm learning. And one of my clear memories is that the neighbor, I think it was in 4th grade, and the neighbor I played with the little girl because I went to school there, and I was still living with my parents at the time. And my mom would lay on the couch all day. I mean, all day. And she would say, I'm so depressed. And it was because she and my father were going through whatever, and, they were both seeing other people and stuff. And so I knew she was hurting, but she just would lay there. And I finally, at the young age of 4th grade, I remember saying, I'm never using that word in my vocabulary. So if you can think, I'd already assuming an identity there. And so in 4th grade, one of the most things that I remember was the little girl next door to me had invited me to come to the mall with them. And I went inside and I went and I grabbed the most cleanest clothes that I could find because my house was a mess. There was roaches, there was everything. And but I used to make breakfast for my mom and everything, just try to cheer her up. And when I got to the mall, they saw how in the regular halogen lights, they saw that I was dirty. And they were like, oh, you're so dirty. And that stayed within me. Obviously, it's really hard to talk about on live on air, even though I've said this before, but
haven't heard this story.
And that, ever since then, those two things were rooted in me, that I now always have this, like, I want to always be presentable. And once I started to live with, luckily, I have the most wonderful grandparents that went on to adopt me, and or I became a ward of the state, and they raised me, and they're just the most amazing people. But And I never had to worry about good food or clean clothes ever again. But it was a choice that I made at a very young age to do that. And I felt like I was abandoning my own mother by making that choice when I made it. And my point being is that I also developed these very core anchored things in my identity that A, said that I was never going to be depressed, B, was not ever going to be out of place, out of sorts, and hair not, I always
you always are put together.
And I enjoy that. I do it for me.
And I'm not as much.
And the other thing is that I felt like I always had to be very studious. And so that is those things that I carried into my adult life. Now, trying to be all of those things all of the time while raising kids or, managing a very tough career, that type of level of standard that I had held for myself started to crumble. And it started to become so agonizing that certain things that if I wasn't doing A+++ in any one of those areas, I would literally beat myself up because I had formulated an identity of what it was, and I just was not willing to become my parents. And if this is resonating with anyone,
chime in on the chat.
So you can see how those things at a very young age just anchor in these identities by which we live and strive by, right? Like I was going to sing for my food. Otherwise, I didn't know if I was going to be able to live with my grandparents if I acted out, right? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make it super easy for them to continue to care for me. And that has really translated into my life and became a level of unworthiness when I wasn't hitting those marks, if you will. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it shows up in different ways today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it seems that...
Thank y'all for listening.
Man, I was like, maybe I should have gone longer in my story. I just ran through it. And I didn't have that kind of trauma or in that way at all.
Which is why I love working with you. And because she'll share stuff that her father had taught her was just a beautiful role model for her, and the way he would say different things and taught her about, monies or whatnot, right? Yeah. And that she could do anything if she really put her mind to it.
Yeah. And it's always like, if you set your mind to it, you can do it. So you've now adopted some of my father's.
Yeah, I really have. Thank you.
Both my parents were great. They met, my parents met in the church, right? My mom was the organist and the pianist of a church. And my dad was an elder at the time. And he, I don't know if he was an elder at the time, but they were in a church and he was like, who's the cute lady playing the piano? So they were both steeped in religion and Christianity. And my father ended up, really being a leader within the church and a messenger for me. And I mean, it just, and as he grew, these Christian messages really changed, as the world evolved, and my dad just kept changing with it. And it was just kind of, very fluid. And I am very, very grateful to have been raised that way, despite having dyslexia.
Yeah.
And I love writing, you guys. I mean, I love it. And I can do that. I take my time doing that, but it's interesting. So the invitation here is for you to go, okay, what is that story? And I'm not asking you to try to just clear it and remove it and go away from it, but what if the story is actually a contribution to you? Wow. Right? Mm-hmm. What if the story is actually a value so that you can look at those as your superpowers? And that does include not being good enough and that worthiness that it seems is almost systemic. Is that the word?
Sure.
Throughout the collective.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with that being said, I have 5 super secrets that's really gotten me so that I can be a frequency and energy that creates change in my world, in other people's worlds, in other people's bodies. And it's really freaking cool.
Yeah, Virginia says, oh, I'm sorry. Virginia says, Jeneth, I had a similar upbringing. I can very much relate to the experience of having to be self-reliant. It made me very attentive to my boys. See, that's the gift. And I think she wrote one more gift here.
The funny thing is, so I actually probably don't dress up to the nth as Lianka does. Sorry, every time somebody gets admitted, I have to change the screen. But I don't dress up because one of the traumas I had was I had to dress up in heels for church every Sunday.
Okay. I see it, right?
I was forced to dress up, so I went rogue as soon as I was free. I'm like, screw these pantyhose. Never again. They're the most miserable things in the world.
They
to
are.
me,
They still are. And then Virginia also said that, her gift and because of her upbringing, I've since learned my guides were speaking to me and providing me knowledge of things to survive. Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
Like I didn't even think about that, but I'm sure that my guides were providing me with some survival skills there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that so much.
Yeah. All right. So
what
let's
are those
dive into
five?
the secret.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's secret, not so secret, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And the number one thing that when I was putting this presentation together after a long meditation, I was like, okay, universe, what is the number one thing that we need to talk about? And it was really the idea of clearing any doubt that you can't do this too.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because I think that even when I started in the energetic world, even lately, I think earlier in the show when I was like trying to go, it's like Joe Dispenza was sending me through a meditation. I'm like, I don't think I can get to the field. I don't think I can do this.
And this is years after her work, right? This is most recently, and she's sitting in meditation and
I'm thinking, I can't reach the field. It's not working. And then later that week, I started to see these geometric symbols go through during the meditation. I was like, oh, I did it. And then as soon as I got to, I did it, those symbols started to go away. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, that's how fast you can snap yourself out of a trance state.
Sure.
Huh?
And I think that the other profound thing too was when you had shared that you were sitting in doubt, and of course we just talked about guides always kind of get you through, and you heard the words bullshit.
I know. It's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then I hear these words that's like bullshit. I'm like, okay, well.
And she said it wasn't even her voice. Like it was.
No, it was channeled from something. It wasn't clear where. I didn't ask enough questions where it came from.
But you knew that. Dang. And those are ways in which we trick ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what if you actually went through life without doubt and you could just know that knower within? One of the clearings that I once did that rocked my world is I kept going, what is it that I didn't know that I'm denying or refusing to know? And if I didn't deny or refuse to know it, I would know. And it was just like this. It's like, okay. And then I started doing it with other people and they were like, oh, I think I know. And so I'm inviting you to know your knower within and to operate from that intuitive place with no doubt. And I'd love to hear some of your ideas and their thoughts about it. If I run this clearing a few more times, you tell me what you now feel like you know, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that you do know that you're denying or refusing to know? And if you didn't deny or refuse to know it, you would have all of you.
Ooh.
And take a breath. What is it that you know about doubt that may be a lie inside? And if you didn't fight it, you would know.
And take a breath.
I'm like, what is it that I know?
Yeah. Don't worry if nothing's popping in your head.
What if, I mean, sometimes you go, gosh, so much of our life is just based on our thoughts and our feelings. And every time you run a thought, it activates biology and chemistry in your body. So what if a world just without doubt could really change all that chemistry right now? Anything that doesn't allow that would destroy. 1, 2, and take a breath.
2, 3. Whoa, that was huge. Thank y'all.
I have in my very first book that I wrote called 7 Dragons, A Guide to a Limitless Mind, it has this dial inside of it, and it goes from, hope to doubt, right? Doubt's just a little beyond hope. Maybe sometimes it's not. I can't remember which one's first, but then, and then it goes even to, I believe I can. And I said, no, you can't even go to just believe, because I know that I can swim a lap in a pool, but I don't believe I can.
Yeah.
Even that word belief in that way still has some frequency that keeps you from actually knowing that you know.
It brings up that commercial where it's like, they're kind of I'm just gonna say half-assing doing stuff, and they were like, oh yeah, well, I'm sure maybe I can get that done. And they were like, maybe, oh, well, maybe it ain't gonna work if you're gonna if I know how to swim, or even if I'm gonna sink or swim, right? It maybe doesn't work if you're, if I can put that house fire out.
But it's almost like, why wouldn't you choose the frequency of, I know I can do it?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of well, maybe I think I can. It's like the little train that could, chugga chugga choo choo. When I was at a party, pool party at Leonka's the other day, and we were talking about this project, and she's like, well, I hope it does well. And
I didn't say that.
And I was like, no, get your hope off me. I know it's gonna do well. And I know that I'm creating what I'm creating. I know what I'm creating. So, but anyway, that's, and it comes from a real humble, I hope for you guys, it comes from kind of a humble place. So that's number one, is and I'm going to take you, hopefully both of us can take them through kind of an experience so that you can go into these deeper brainwave states and you can work on these changes. So I want this to kind of be a participating experience for you. So if there's a doubt in your world right now, I want you just to go ahead and write that doubt down. Write that doubt down. Doubt down. It's like the downtown alley doubt. What is it in your world that you're doubting? Do you doubt that you can, heal somebody by just contributing to the collective?
Be honest.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And you don't have to say it in the chat. You can if you want. But I'm asking for you to do it for you. Do you doubt something that in your job? Do you doubt something in your relationship? Do you doubt that you're never going to find a man? Right? Do you doubt that you're never going to find a woman?
For a long time, I doubted that I was going to lose weight. Because I kept
weight could be it.
Baby weight for a long time. And my child is 12. I doubted that I could walk away from corporate and be happy and secure. That was very scary. But I doubted it I probably played the in and out game for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. And about the last 2, I knew I was going to make myself sick with dis-ease because it was such a traumatic thing for me. My higher self, my guides, my spirit already knew where I needed to be. And I was the only one that was fighting it because of fear and doubt.
Maybe you can, what about victimhood too? Doubting that you will always be the victim to circumstances or something.
Sure, yes.
I've got this leg thing that I'm working on healing, but I haven't been totally successful yet.
So you hope it heals. See? You see how
I believe. I think I'm at the belief stage of that
right?
one.
So you see how
I
this
believe.
is so y'all see how this is a gauge, right? This is something that's super close to her.
It's in my body, but so I haven't gotten to like I know yet. It
hides. It hides from us.
It hides from us. So write down that doubt.
I know that we are going to grow this community. I know that. But did I know that at the time when I was still stuck in corporate and I was like,
you doubted it a little.
I doubted it. I mean, I had this doubt. I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared because it went against the beliefs that I had created for myself as a young child of being successful and what that looked like.
And to go with the second secret, I mean, technically, when I would do this, like, it's easier to know that you can do something when you've already done something, right? So since we had worked together and we knew how each other worked and we also knew what we were capable of, it was much easier to get us to this knowing. So if you've got to play in that land of belief, but see if you can turn up that dial a little bit from those lower frequencies of doubt and hope into more like, I believe I can. And then eventually hopefully you'll get to that knowing.
Yeah, and eventually get to the knowing.
Hopefully you'll get there.
See how it hides?
You see how it hides there?
Yes.
I want that for you, though. I want to know that you can do this too.
And you can. You can do this too. We have we have an infinite amount of miracles as the norm that we should expect. But I know those are all can be big structures to examine right now. But I know that we all have this capacity with every single human.
Yep. And then secret number 2 is to let go or clear that unwillingness to be one with your unfamiliar and that unknown zone. There still exists people in the world that don't get that there's anything beyond the 3D and this human reality. And one of the things that you've got to get to is being like, oh, wow, I actually can get information from the galactic zones, right? And all the weirdness that's involved with that. I feel like I had to get really, really comfortable with even saying, gosh, I do this weird ass woo-woo shit.
I did too.
I mean, and it just was like, okay. Yeah. And I've noticed the more I'm just like, I do this and I'm great at it and it's changing lives. And, and everyone's like, oh, this is really freaking cool. And I think that people notice for both of us that there's a lightness, right? We're just easy to be around a little bit because of the work that we've done.
Sure.
Unless you have the point of view that we're not, in which case you're unwelcome. I'm teasing you. Everyone's welcome, even despite your judgment.
That's true.
That's coming up too.
Yeah, despite the judgment, that's okay.
I mean, that's somebody else's, that's their external point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as long as, I always think when I was younger, I always said, so remember when people used to be like, you believe in aliens? And I'd be like, well, I don't discredit what I don't understand. And so that left me be very open to exploring different ideas and even religions and various different, theology, schools of thought. Science is my biggest, most funnest, exploration of thought, because it all starts with question, and science has you question everything. And I believe that there are infinite number of possibilities. And even science today, I just read another article that I sent to everyone that says that, time is a construct of the quantum entanglements, and that originally the universe didn't have entanglements. So what does that mean? We didn't have time. What?
Oh, that's cool.
And so what does that do? It takes down all of the paradigms of E equals MC squared, right? So all of that just gets blown up.
I know.
And who's finding this? Scientists, y'all. All of the stuff that we've, been hearing about since, ancient artifacts and writings. Yeah. So I just say be open, that's all. Yeah,
I mean, Joe Dispenza has proven through study that we can change matter from thought alone. He literally says it that way. We can change matter from thought alone, which is M equals MC squared.
Yes.
You know,
right?
it just, you know, but now we can do it from the frequency of thought. It's like, what? I love it.
Yeah.
It is fun. So this is the invitation. We're inviting you to play and really go into the unknown, because the more of us that do, the more of us that can really play together, and I'm excited about that. Anything else you want to say about this one?
Someone said, loved Dispense, cute. They meant Dispensa and wrote Dispensa, and he's a genius. Yes.
Yes, he truly
he really is.
And I mean, he had to go through a massive injury to get there. Maybe we don't have to. Right?
Yes.
You know, what's possible? Are we just willing to go there without having, you know, to really, totally.
Because we are being invited, and the collective is being open to more ideas of thought and sciences backing all of this up. And thank goodness to Jode, I think this is what Jeneth was saying to him, that now he, you know, is putting it on the public display, that science is also showing that thought, which we always knew, can change the frequency of matter and create things. And so now that we can scientifically see that, more of the collective is being open to this idea. And so now we don't have to have a specific disease or NDE, near-death experience, in order to shift stuff. We can do now. Today.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
I love that so much. Yeah. My gosh, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Number 3 is to focus more on your internal landscape instead of your external world. And that includes everyone else's points of view, judgments, and opinions. This is was new information to me. I was in meditation, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, well, what if, like, let's look at this just for a minute. What if all of the ties that we have to people, what if we would just let all that go? And that includes their point of view about who we are. And because they think that point of view about who we are, we think that point of view about who we are. You know, if my son thinks I'm, you know, stupid for doing this kind of work, right? Because of his point of view, then I might go into doubt.
Yeah.
Except I'm too strong for doubt. No, I'm just kidding. It exists still. But I'm going to do my best. You know, and all these points of view are being pointed at us. And all their judgments are being pointed at us. And all these other people's opinions are being pointed at us. And that's all in the external world. My invitation for you is to go within and connect with your infinite being, or as others like to call, your higher self. I don't actually think of it as higher than me. It is me. And what if that plus the field gives us awareness of the next level of our timeline, basically, so that we can, you know, be better.
She's so evolved. She's right. It is her.
Yes,
my higher self, and I use that word all the time with all the love, is the word I use. But it is me. It is me. Yeah. But when I was first doing this work, I couldn't view it as that. I didn't realize that it was me, because I didn't understand that a part of me stays always connected to source, and all with oneness. It was a lot of learning.
I love this so much, because, you know, one time I was like, I'm going to make a request and ask and demand of the universe almost. And I am doing this as an infinite being, not as a finite, just small human here. And I created, that was my car key that I lost. Right. I have this funny little, I could do it real quick. It's a real quick story. I had an Audi, and it has one of those fobs, and I don't know, they're like $350 or something. If you lose them, to replace them,
That's 'cause you
because
had
they
an
got
Audi.
to program them and everything like that, because it's Audi. And
It's beautiful. It was a
and I
beautiful
had
car.
lost my last key. You know, you get 2 keys, but I lost the second one. And I
both.
called them up, and I knew it was in the house because my car was here. And I was going on like day 3 of not driving my car.
Yo, this is for real.
Like, luckily I work at home. And I'm like, called them and see how long will it take me to get another key?
You're
this,
patient.
that, and the other.
You are
Because
patient.
I looked everywhere. I mean, that's literally what it seemed like. I looked everywhere.
I'm just thinking about
And then when I'm on the phone with them, they're like, yeah, it's going to be like $350 plus tax or whatever. I'm like, fuck that. I know it's in here. And I was like, as an infinite being, I'm going to expand out and request that the universe shows me where this key is. And I was like, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I had all the potency within me.
Of course, you hadn't been driving for 4 days. Like, I'd be using all of myself to find this damn key.
And then I let it go. I was like, I feel like I've done everything I can do. And in the next 10 minutes, I had to go to the bathroom, and I walked in the bathroom. And there was my book, that you have a bathroom book. Everyone does. If you don't have a bathroom book, please chime in the chat. Or better yet, what book are you reading?
That's good.
Chime in the chat.
Okay, so what happened?
Anyway, I walk in the bathroom and I grab the book that I haven't read apparently in the last 4 days, and underneath it was my husband's shaving kit.
Okay.
And the cleaning ladies had put my key inside the shaving kit and then put the book on top of it. It was just like a miracle. It was just like the freaking coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And I know that that's such a goofball-y story, but
it helps.
Totally.
It got you back on the road.
I know. But this is my invitation to play with all of you as an infinite being.
Christopher says, love that.
That's a fun story.
Yeah.
That was you think of these little things in life that are
But
just
that could have gotten you so twisted too, right?
It was less about the money and more that it was going to take another week or 2 for me to get another key.
Right.
I was more like, that's not happening. I cannot be trapped here and Uber myself around any longer.
Oh, gosh.
So this is my invitation for you to focus so much on your internal landscape and being a part of one with the field.
Yeah.
And really seeing all the external stuff that hits you on a daily basis as like just these little things, like these little sparks in the in the landscape, right? It's just a little bit different world when you focus on creating your life versus life by default.
Yeah, I like that.
Take a sip of water.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that. So Christopher says, yes, Sonia Chicken, I can't not spell it, talks about, well, it's in the chat. You can see the chat. Talks about runner guides that helps us in her book. And I agree with that. I think that, when we can go out and ask, like, especially those times when I'm getting twisted, when I'm like, oh, why is this not working? And I've been working on something, or let's just say everything keeps jumping out in front of me because one of my stories is that I'm accident prone. I don't think it's a story, y'all. My husband says I have this little force field that everything likes to just jump out in front of me and around me, and other things happen. One time I turned off this entire beach party with my toes because I unplugged the extension cord. It was like, we were running and all of a sudden I heard, and I was like, oh my God, I think I turned off the whole beach party. I was like, yo, run. This is in my adult life, y'all. But anyway, so those things can kind of get you triggered. And what if I could just rely on my spirit guides to make sure that I'm not, skinning my knees and stuff around, or just leaving pieces of me everywhere. So it's really funny, but those are the things that can get you tripped up, and also then it sets you on a trajectory of like, oh, today's like, oh, I already like did all these things and somebody cut me off.
And then you're drained. Yeah. And it's like, why am I drained? I mean, how hard is it to actually like, sit and type things, which is what I often do, is type things.
But it does, there are some things that are taxing in everyday lives that we can utilize our infinite self or, call upon our runner guides to help us and aid us in those ways.
Yeah.
Just really willing to ask from a different place.
Well, and one of the things you'll notice we do often is we ask you to collect all those parts and pieces that you've left outside you got tripped up about something. Well, go ahead and collect them back. And the reason you do want to collect them back is, one, so that you can be the infinite being with all your potency that you've got. But two, also, if you're trying to avoid something or hide from something and you put it somewhere because you don't want to see it, if you bring it back in, it will allow you to change it. So just so you're aware of why we use that process. And usually when we do that process, everyone gets so like right here, right now, present, and they pay attention.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I didn't ask on the last one, but I will now. Would you go ahead and also just write a little note on, okay, if I'm going to craft my internal landscape now, what would that be?
Well, that's a good question.
What would that be?
More, I guess, is it in the terms of like more confidence? It would be confident. It would be energetic.
Yeah, it could be all frequencies.
Yes.
But it could also be things that you've wanted to show up in your life. That's a physical thing in the matter.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're working on bringing a new car into your
clearing
life.
debt. Yeah. Right?
Right.
What are those things?
Right.
That and the joy that would be just having all that security around my son and his am I being a good parent for his guidance, and then having the time to do those things. I think that those are the things that I would definitely put on my internal landscape thing.
Yeah. I mean, even the fortune you want for somebody else.
Okay.
Right?
Sure. I do hold a lot of weight for like my mom and my family and their health, and even my external extended family and my grandparents and stuff, or my grandma.
Yeah. So even
the way I feel about it too.
I mean, here we are as infinite beings doing the work, right? How can we contribute to the collective versus pulling from the collective?
Absolutely. And that I always show up as a being that people can receive from. I don't always have to be that, but like if I am showing up here, then what's the biggest contribution I can be to everyone here? What's the biggest contribution that I can be to this world and this planet? Those are all things that really move me. Immensely.
Good. Right. This is good. All right. And then secret number 4. This also was something we talked about just recently on the show. And it's really about stopping constantly wanting. Think about something that you've wanted for the last 12 years. Right? Think about something you've wanted for the last 20 years. I want you to write that down. This should have gone earlier probably, but do you see how there's kind of a frequency of, I'm not getting it, I'm not getting it, I'm not getting it. And it's like this ongoing pattern, like talking about patterns, this ongoing pattern that it,
Well, for years, I wanted to be doing this work full time, and I would try and think that I would line up my career so that I had a good nest egg, which I finally did do, but so that I could do this full time. But as soon as I kept feeling like I had just enough or whatnot, I would still then go into this doubt and this fear of, oh no, I'm not secure. So I always had this as a want only. Even when we were working together, I still was always 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So then I didn't have this belief. I didn't put it out to the universe with full surrender.
No, not as a total knowing and knowing right?
No, because I wouldn't have made myself so miserable every morning, waking up wanting to throw up, having to go back to that job that I did not resonate with anymore.
That was what you told me when you did that channeling session with me.
What did I say?
You said that right now that or that I had been
Straddled.
straddled.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
Straddling two different timelines.
yes.
And you said, leap, just go to this one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got really cool guides.
Well, and I have leaped. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is going really quick, faster than ever, isn't it? And this is really about getting really, really present in the moment where there is no time, space, or space time, right? Where you can just go, wow, I'm really, really present here. And we're going to do a meditation in just a little bit. I'm calling it a meditation, but it's going to be like a fifth dimensional cool thing. And we're gonna get so present that the field will allow that request.
Leslie says, it won't happen until you believe it's possible. Look at the 5-minute mile, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not, and like I said, it's not belief, it's knowing.
Right, because now they know that humans can do it.
That runner knew that they could break that.
And everyone else that came up from behind him, because after that, before no one could do it. No one thought they could do it. And once it was broken, once one human showed that it could be done, other humans quickly followed suit, right?
Right.
And because we saw one do it, then now we know it can be done. We know it can be done. So then they know.
Then they have to get to knowing that they can do it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
It is quite fascinating if you really think about it.
Since I'm a swimmer, I often think of Diana Nyad, who swam from like 2 days of swimming through from what was it, Cuba to Florida, I believe. And she just was like, no one else on earth can do this, but I know that I can do it. She did it at like 62 years of age.
Oh my goodness, wow.
I mean, talk about, knowing that right?
Yeah.
It's like freaking awesome. And, and this secret probably should have gone earlier, but because I feel like this is kind of precursory to knowing that
Sure.
Yeah. It's kind of cool.
There are other areas where I do play I played the game of want, and I think this is another important thing or just a place where we can put this is, one of the things that I'd always heard about was in my way of prayer, and I was always asking for stuff, right? Because that's the way I learned how to pray. God, please help me with my health, and help my grandma with her health, and okay, please. And so it came from a place that's almost a beg. Yes. And so then when I was listening to Greg Braden, he was talking about a way in which someone had taught him how to pray, and it was actually feeling the experience. They wanted rain, and so the person went over and prayed for a very quickly amount of time, and Greg Braden's waiting for this big ritual to happen and to whatever. So the man explained, he said, well, what did you do over there? He said, I just experienced the feeling of rain on my body and the joy of the flowers and the seeds growing, and I experienced the rain just washing and giving more abundance to the river. And I just gave so much gratitude for that. And I just stayed in that emotion. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm praying wrong. Not wrong, but
then you just doubted how you were praying.
Right? There you go. And so I go, oh gosh, so now I'm teaching my son, and in my prayers, I'm like, thank you, God, for the health that we have. Thank you, God, for grandma's health. And thank you, God, for helping me, giving me the time to help her, because I get to go and work from her house a couple days a week sometimes. And thank you, God, and all the things that I want. And normally I would have put in the want category. I just thank God as if I've already had them, or something better. And I always put or something greater, because God might have his own plan. And I use the word God. Most people use a universe. But when I pray, I say the word God. So there you go.
Nice. All right. And then the fifth one, which I didn't even know how to write this in simple words, by the way. This is like written like 18 times, but It's to be and allow the field to live through you as oneness. And I guess it should say, as oneness creates that field of possibilities. And I feel like it needs more explanation than that. But one of the awarenesses that I got through channeling, from other people that know better than me, I guess, other things, was that the reason you desire something that you desire is because it's yours to have it. Mm-hmm. And when I got to that, I was like, And then it was almost as me as an infinite being is here, always playing in this field of possibilities. And it's giving me ideas and what I like to call inklings, because I think ideas are too much look like a light bulb.
Interesting.
To choose and create.
Okay.
So
one of the
it's like what you say, spot it, you got it.
I do say spot it, you got it. One of the things that my mom, before she really had her spiritual awakening, and just so y'all know, that's kind of what gave me even more clear proof, kind of my 5-minute mile, or you know what I'm trying to say. My proof that anything is possible was watching my mother have her experience, her spiritual awakening. And before she did, though, she used to always be like, oh, I wish I could go on a trip. And so I used to hide when I would have trips and when I had all this, really fun things happening for me. But one thing that was very obvious in my awareness was that she did not have the idea of spot it, you got it. And so one day she was kind of still playing in that, I'd love to have this, and look, they have that beautiful little home. And I finally just looked at her and I go, Mom, remember, if you spot it, you got it. In other words, that house and that desire is not showing up for you because it's just supposed to be willy-nilly. If you spot it, that's supposed to be yours or something better, right? And she just wasn't asking for a lot. She was just asking for a place that she could call her own home. And this was, this is a lot of, this was, she was living in a halfway home. For you, just so that you have the reference. So this was a very far stretch for her imagination to have. And today she's now excited. She lives in California. Yeah. She loves it. And is working to, purchase her own home out there, which can be quite the feat. But back then it probably was a really far stretch to believe that she could have those things.
Sure.
So I always say, if you spot it, you got it. You could just put yourself out in the field. And for her, the things that she manifested were so far even out of my realm to explain to you today. But it is just fascinating to see that happen and work.
This is a kind of a dynamic conversation for me, because I feel like the more I play in this frequency, this is what I want to spot and have.
Yeah.
Right? Not actual stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
I do feel like this is what I want. I want to continue to play in this lightness and this.
And show others how to do that, create freedom. That's mine, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There are things clearly that would be fun to have, like a Porsche, Ferrari, something like that. But I don't really, it's not enough for me to actually want to go into meditation for an hour. Not that requires this, and then go into the field and say, the thing that I want the most is a Porsche. It's kind of no.
It might be for you, right? It might be something that your heart has always desired, and I think, whatever that was. Yeah. Right.
I also wanted a golden retriever once, and I ended up getting one that looked exactly like it from the Humane Society, which worked exactly the way I needed to get a dog too, because I don't want to go to a breeder, basically.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So
yeah.
I felt that I kind of manifested her because she arrived in the exact packaging even that I wanted her.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And then
fun.
you had this screensaver one time of a cat that you had that was playing in a little hole, and she
I'm
just
good at
had it on her.
manifesting animals, huh?
Yeah. Well, they find us, right?
Yeah, they own us.
And so then she had this little cat screensaver that was like kind of playing in this hole, and all of a sudden her daughter goes outside in the backyard. This was months after, and found this cat stuck in a hole. Stuck in a hole, and she was like, "Mom, we gotta free her." And so they finally do, and then they realized that the cat probably didn't have a home, so they were kind of putting out the feels for the other people to try and rescue the cat and whatnot. Finally, that became the household cat. So there you go, right? Talk about spot it, you got it. And if it's not for you, you can let it go. So don't think you have to attract everything that's not for you either, or your highest desire. Our guides help us. Sometimes when we get those quick shifts, kicks to the butts, they can come in the form of even an accident, or maybe falling down. Sometimes when I bite my lip, or I fall, like I said, I'm kind of accident prone, but I'll try to keep that out of my story. Some things will happen that is like, and I'm like, okay, now I've worked in this field enough that I can ask, what is it that I'm supposed to be aware of right now? And usually I'll get a thought that comes in, or I'll just double check what I was thinking about before, because our guides are always trying to help us get back on that path that we chose before we came to Earth, as our highest timeline. And so isn't that really cool? Like, we got help, man.
We do.
We got help, y'all.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. If we ask for it too, more will rush in if we see those things as help. I didn't used to do that before. I didn't know that this was help. I would just probably get pissed again that I fell or dropped something. Oh, I love it. Now I just think of it like it's, okay, if you want to give me a good laugh, let me just go power down a beach party. My husband and I were laughing about that last night. Because I accidentally unplugged our our extension wire to something he was working on, and it turned off. And I go, "Oh, I'm sorry." Because I clapped it with my toes. I don't know what's up with my toes, but those little things that just make you stop and say, "Okay, what am I doing?" And now it just makes me laugh, and I think, "Okay, well, my spirit guides really have a sense of humor."
I know, it's great. So, you guys want to do an experience? You're gonna have to put yes in the chat, or we're not doing it. Just kidding, I don't care.
Yeah, let's do this. Yeah, this is exciting. All right.
Anybody who hasn't said something in the chat, or an emoji,
Robin, thank you. She's like, yes, exclamation mark. And then
so I don't.
Yes. And
I have a cousin Robin.
A higher vibration.
I have a cousin Robin in Missouri. She lives in Fenton. And you might be her. I don't think so, but it'd be cool. Like, bring in the whole family, man.
Thank you. Everyone's saying yes.
Okay.
And remember, we are filling time, and this is more of a talk show format. So if you're just used to people coming on here being a speaker or just talking at you, or this is a dialogue.
We like
this
to
is a
participate.
fun. Yeah, this is a fun. The whole summit and the whole premise of our show is always going to be a talk show. So bringing in these different stories from our own life and anything that you want to share with us as well.
Stop there. I'm going to start a new one just for this.
Yeah. All the things, y'all.
Okay, guys. So unless you came in late, as I mentioned, I have this weird thing I call awesomeness because I couldn't find another word for it really. And usually how I personally started is by taking my two wrists together, and I start to kind of just feel the sensation of each one on my skin, and then I ask for it. So if you kind of come with me, and it starts to feel like that thrum, it's just started up just a little bit. You might feel the kind of this little heartbeat that's almost like not even a part of your senses as much as you can just tell that it's there. And what we're going to play with here is everything we just talked about, right? It's like really getting you to fall into the flow of what the you plus the field wants to create through you. So go ahead and close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, really focusing on the consistent rise and fall of your chest. My invitation to you is that this will change the vibe required for that one thing that you may be doubting is possible in your life. So all the projections, expectations, separations, judgments, and rejections that you have about you and your capacity to create the change required, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate?
Yes.
And then take one more breath, breathing in almost like steam through your spine and taking it out in all directions and allowing this awesomeness and fifth dimensional frequency to change you
Yes.
for the better.
Anything doesn't allow that, what are you destroying and create?
Thank you. Breathe in another deep breath, and it's going to relax you even further. Breathing in deeply and slowly. And now, feeling loose and light, I'm going to take you in a little visual. I'm going to describe a place to you, and you will picture yourself there. And it will be relaxing, and you will enjoy imagining yourself right here. So, picture yourself standing on a tranquil beach at sunrise. The soft golden sands are stretching out before you, and the air is filled with these soothing sounds of this rhythmic wave. And each one of these waves awakens that fifth dimensional field within and through your body. Is creating a symphony of rhythms. And right now, you become aware of everything. You feel everything. And you imagine yourself standing right where your feet are just getting touched by that water. And every time that water touches you, this knowing, like you know inside of yourself, reawakens. It reawakens your remembrance of what you actually are as an infinite being. And as these waves touch your toes, it relaxes you even deeper. And it almost feels as if you are falling in love with yourself. You step back from this water now that you're fully present and alive. And behind you, there is a staircase going up 10 steps And upon these 10 steps, you see this oasis with a lounge chair and a cover and lots of cushions. So you turn around and you start to walk up to the staircase. And each step that you take, it relaxes you deeper and deeper and deeper. And now we approach the staircase and we're going to take a step. And with every single step, any doubts, any hesitations, any curiosities will melt away because you are about to awaken your knower within. Step up that very first step, and it relaxes you even deeper. And as you're relaxed, you let go of even the idea of the word doubt. And you take a breath and you fall in to all of you. And then you take the next step. And on that next step, you begin to really believe that you can do this, that you can change whatever you wish in your life. You stepped up to that third step. And as you do, there's even more ease and joy coming through you and around you. And now, what happens? Lack does no longer exist in your world. All you know is abundance. You step up to that fourth step and you fall into that abundant world. You fall in to a frequency beyond possibility, beyond what you know is possible. And step up another step, you're halfway there now. And as you step up that step, you now know like you know, like you know. And all those ideas and inklings that have been playing in your world, you now start to choose one of them. And then now you step up to the sixth step. And as you do, you relax even deeper into all of you and this present moment. You feel strong and confident, beautiful and awake. You take another breath and you step up another step to number 7. The lucky 777. How lucky are you? How lucky are you that you've found your way to this work where you can create whatever change you want in this reality by thought alone. You step up one more step to number 8. 8, that infinite number, 888. And it makes you think, wow, if I would truly create as an infinite being, what is possible now? I want you to expand out as far as you can go. And now we continue with this divine knower as an infinite being and as all of you. You move up one more step. 9, 9, 9. And then the very last step, it relaxes you into totality. And as you step up to that last 10th step, you're excited because you get to wander out into this lounge, into this beautiful space where you can just fall in to these comfortable lounge chairs, fall in to that knower that you know, and fall in as an infinite being. And now you cuddle up and you get so relaxed and you feel the winds upon your skin, and it's the perfect temperature. And now I'm going to be quiet for a minute as you ask and you craft your next request, your next desire, your next vision. Just take a minute now and just play with that vision, play with those desires, play with it as an infinite being. And taking time to really fall in love with it. How many emotions and excitements and relief can you get while you're playing in this field as all of you? And adding even more of that awesomeness frequency, pulling it in through the quantum entanglements, allowing this to show up in an unfamiliar, unexpected way. Because there's somewhere still in one of your worlds that needs to know that you can do this. Or would you be willing to ask this to come to you in such an unexpected way that you know the universe has your back? So I want you to lounge out, camp here for just another minute, playing in this field. And then go ahead and start wiggling your fingers and your toes. And instead of walking you back down, we are going to walk you into life. It's not going back down. We're going to walk forward. So I want you to go ahead and step up from your lounge chair. And I want you to start walking into life as all of you, as the knower within, as an infinite being, knowing that you can do this at any time. So 10, 9, 8, becoming more and more alive, more alert, more aware. 7, starting to move your fingers and your arms and feeling sensations throughout your limbs. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fully awake, opening your eyes, becoming so present, so alert,
Wow.
so alive. I want you to just go ahead and clap your hands, stretch your arms, shake it out. Woo, lightning bolts.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
whew. Hello.
Hi.
That was a mini meditation.
Yeah, thank you. God, you can hear it in my voice. Woo. That was lovely. Oh, you should have seen what I was wearing. It was fun.
You should have seen me in that mini med.
And it was all cool. So hair was flawless. No, it was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm going to bring back up the presentation just for a second here.
I mean, I like fashion. My mom is a costume designer, so it just flows into my visions.
So we talked a lot about this, and I wanted to share a couple stories here. And one of my clients that I've basically spent I guess she probably started with me in 2012.
Okay.
And so it's been 12 years, and she's now become one of my best friends. She started as a client. She's so phenomenal. I just thought I would share, I claim, I have a certification in hypnotherapy, but really the work that I do like this is called biology, where it works through the body and the being and the whole shebang. And she didn't believe that she could do this, and she didn't believe that she could get out of kind of a lifeless marriage. And she didn't believe that she could have, these horses and have people come to her property and work with these horses and,
Wow.
all these things,
Yeah.
right? In the very bottom first horse picture, that is my friend before we started working.
Okay.
And I feel like I've watched her whole frequency change. So I feel like she's reversed aged even. So that's kind of where she started. And I mean, I feel like even it seems like there's a sweetness between her and this horse, but
Yeah.
it's not what it is possible. And this one on the right is her today, working with horses and being with horses. And just the picture alone, I feel like is worth 1,000 words. I went to visit her house in Colorado, and we were playing on this river and stuff. So this was kind of in between. That might have been 2018. And this one on the very top right is her today. After 30 years of marriage and kind of this this is what we do in life. So hum. She literally, they went to Hawaii for their 30-year anniversary. And they got back from that trip, and he talked about how much money it costs and this, that, and the other. And it just, she just was just like, really? I'm not taking another vacation with you is where where it started. Because she's
So
like,
he
you
wasn't
just
happy the whole
ruined it.
time that
He
they
wasn't
were-
happy because it costs money, basically. And that was kind of the start of the end of her marriage, and she just chose for
I'm sure it
herself.
started from a long time before that, though.
Certainly,
Yeah.
certainly. That was just the tip of the iceberg
Sure.
ending.
Oh, gotcha.
And And now this one right here, that's her wedding dress that she's going to wear August 18th as she marries this very wealthy man that loves her inside out, upside down. And, and her external world has changed so much. And I will bring her on the series at some point. And I know she'll tell you within that it's because she started to work on what she wanted on the inside and the frequencies she wanted to feel and be and have.
That's fascinating.
And that is the work we do through biology.
Wow.
And
Manisha says, wow, amazing story.
Cool.
Gosh, I can't even imagine.
And there's so many stories like this.
Yeah.
This was just the one that I didn't want this whole thing to be story after story.
But I did I remember I said, Jeneth, you've got to put her picture up
up there. Yeah,
she said, Dawn, she said, can you believe after, because, her husband, I knew impassive that her husband didn't really support her work and that they, they had that miserable trip. And I thought, well, they've been together for that so long. And I mean,
they have 4 kids and 18 grandkids.
Many people don't change those things, but she had changed so much.
But that she could not be with him because his frequency didn't elevate with them.
And I think that really hurt. Yeah. And so making those huge changes, and she goes, yeah, she just sent me a picture of her wedding dress. Her in her wedding dress. You don't let me finish.
I'm sorry.
I was like, her in her wedding dress. And I said, Jeneth, you got to put that picture up because, oh my gosh, she looks phenomenal. Just look at her skin, she's glowing. Yeah. And she goes, I will. So I think Jeneth was that she doesn't let me love on her. And then I was like,
I just got to hunt down the whole journey.
And she doesn't let me love on her. But I thought this was one of those things that was very phenomenal, that I was like, gosh, the change, I would appreciate seeing something like that. I'm a very big proponent of, if you were to see my before and after pictures, you would be, I was just telling one of our clients yesterday, just amazed by how much different I even look from at the beginning of the last series, last summit.
I mean, you can go back on my YouTube and look at how I looked like 10 years older 10 years ago. Well, there are filters, but.
That's true too. It does help. But, the thing is that the way we show up, though, you cannot fake that. And the way I show up in life is so much more with ease, but it wasn't always this way. And I just know that if I hadn't found this work, I don't know. I mean, I would be probably not healthy today.
Yeah, because stress alone. One time when I was learning hypnosis, I remember the teacher said, even if you do nothing else but make them more relaxed and more calm, you've got gold, because it's the stress that's killing us. This is not rocket science, right?
Oh, so many people said, thank you, wonderful ladies, energizing. Wow, amazing story. I love these empowering stories. Keep sharing them. Thank you. Thank you. I was just saying that Joe Dispenza always says he shares his story after story. And that's what keeps me right there, because I love hearing I love hearing good stories, period. And that's why we have so many different guests on the show. They have these really great overcome stories, and lots of people have experienced some tremendous adversity, and the changes that the people in his world and our world, and Jeneth, again, letting me love on her. These stories are just so fascinating, and I know they
kind of have this humility. I can't take credit for the stories. I don't know if that's humility, but I feel no, that's her story.
Sure.
And sometimes when I share stories like that, but it was such. She's such a profound. So there's so many profound changes in this work, and she was just one I was really, really close with. That became like a best friend almost. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That is super cool.
So we wanted to, we've put together a group. It's called The Lounge.
Yay.
And if you want to check out more, here's the link, and I will share it with you as well. But for the summit, and during the summit, we've offered kind of this right now, you can try it for 7 days. And it's just $33 a month after that. Like this isn't an expensive thing, right?
You try it for 14 days for just $7.
We meet every Tuesday. We meet not every Tuesday. We meet the second and fourth Tuesday of each month in a really small group like Zoom, and you get to actually like participate and get coached by both of us. So that's what. And let me go through the page with you if I can.
And it's an invitation for anyone that wants to play a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't have to choose it right now. This is this is like going to be going on throughout the whole summit. But I did want you to know that if you want like all the recordings of everything that we do.
All the speaker summit, summit.
Then you also get that with this. And that's why we wanted to tell you about it first and up front.
Yeah, before we got started, because there's some juicy stuff in here that will help, that will be part of the entire series. So yeah, all of the interviews from last season will be included in, even if you just do the trial. So there, this is all a choice. We'll continue to show up as a free resource for you every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the week after the summit.
Yes. Yeah, the summit keeps going in a way.
That face, I love how I'm like,
We'll fast forward it. There you go.
But good times.
Just can't get it. Okay, so we have this little video telling you all about it here. It's all about this work that we've just been talking about today. We go through like your life paths and get clarity upon that. We to clear out the past. You haven't really witnessed Lianka's work right now, but she does this cool
HHT, quantum hypnotic healing technique.
You want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. And basically one of the things that I've always loved is when I first started coaching, I actually kind of was a little bit nervous. This was over probably 15 years ago. I got a coaching certification, and I still was feeling like, sometimes there was a lot of talking at people, or there wasn't this really foundational big change that I was seeing happening in therapy and in coaching alone. And so my heart just kept seeking what more can I be a facilitator from. And so QHHT puts you into a hypnotic state where you actually connect with your own self. So your own higher self then becomes the directive narrator and a change agent for you. We just draw that from whenever we put you in a hypnotic state. And so there are immediate healings. There are people lose weight in ways that they never thought before. Yes, Dolores Cannon's work. And so it's I've been very blessed into working with her work directly. There are some other versions of QHHT, but I have, and I did a big project in which I had a big channeled several months of channeled work through Dolores Cannon's work. And so I was the person that was put into the trance, and lots of amazing stuff has come through. As such, I've had such a beautiful spiritual awakening. And so now I'm able to work with your own masters, teachers, and loved ones to give information as well. And so that is because that's been turned on through the channeling event and through Dolores Cannon's work. So I also blend that in with, again, working with your message with Akashic Records. And so since we've had this DNA that has been upgraded, there's a lot of new messages for everyone that actually works in the present. And from we talk of some past, but there's not even Dolores Cannon later in her work said that we don't have necessarily a need for the past work. We're now moving into our future timelines and how we most elevate and work with those future timelines. So it's super fun, very beautiful. I love it so much because it gives you back the power.
Yeah.
And so our work blends so beautifully together. Yeah. It's amazing. And we know this is by no accident, y'all. just to give the perspective, her family members live right next door. They bought the house next door. Guess what? They went on vacation. Her daughter graduated from high school, so she was pet sitting. And I guess Spirit knew that we needed some extra time together for this weekend. So her daughter, which was pet sitting, went off to do a lock-in for overnight. So Jenna spent the whole weekend there, and I spent the whole weekend there next door to my house, just working on this work in such a great environment. And it was fun, and I know that this work has been so divinely guided this whole summit, and will continue to show up here as a free resource. And this is an invitation to just go deeper. Normally, most people who do this work would charge a ton more, and eventually our rates will go up. But because we're so dedicated, and we have really started a foundation here with lots of our existing members, One Rights, my experience with the lounge, each time we come together, work as one, and he puts one in all caps. Thank you, Joe. That was really sweet. Gosh, what a great segue.
That's beautiful.
It's like almost like magic as I'm sharing it here. So, eventually the prices will have to go up because we'll be serving so many people, but we wanted to offer this today at the beginning of the summit because there's some juicy, you get to take home, you get all the speaker interviews, and you get a discount off of the different speaker packages that the speakers, this comes out of, our, it's our gift to you, not even from the speakers, it's from us. And you can go through it.
I have to figure out what's going on with my computer because it's not charging, and if we don't have charge, we're gonna die here. But the cool thing about it is we do meet live for facilitation, right? We look for the cord, and it is plugged in here. I don't know why it's not working. And so basically, that's like the coolest and biggest part of it all. But what you also get, if you do like getting the speaker special offers, you get a code. You get a code so that you get 10% off the speaker special offers during the summit. Well, and after the summit, right? And you also get like the entire event, and you get all the future events that we ever will do. We're putting them in one massive archive. So if you'd like to listen, then you've got that. You also get, Lianka's gift and my gifts. And then if you do want actual work or readings from either of us, they are 50% off our regular fee, which, what's your fee? Is it $350? Mm-hmm. And so it would be
$125,
So you get,
and that's in-depth.
You'd get half off. And that's like an in-depth session where we, go deep with you. So that probably wasn't the best said, but it is $7 if you want to try it. Our first group would be on Tuesday, next Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. So here's the page. If you've got questions, feel free to email us. I've tried to email some of the questions here. And that's it. Any of you lounge members want to chime in and say what you like out of it?
Oh, divine indeed. That's really sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, so interesting. It's been fun creating this amazing package and amazing invitation and amazing summit. And it's so divinely
And we do
inspired.
have our guest on the line, Addison, who is going to take us into more timeline quantum jumping.
My goodness, guys. Gosh, time flies.
My gosh, it so flew. I was like, I got to get through this offer. What am I going to say? It's all written on that page, though. And we also go over it in the video at the top. So I do hope that if it doesn't call you today, maybe it will by the end of the summit.
Yay!
Yeah.
Hi, Addison. We're all live, so you get to see everything from behind the scenes, and we'll get started with your recording here in just a moment. We have about 4 minutes till we start.
Can you
at the top of the hour.
entertain them for 4 minutes while I take a little bathroom break?
Yeah. Oh gosh, you be quick because I got to switch out with you. But we've had such a great time doing, Addison, so you know, the audience has already been through a hypnotic session. We've had some really fun laughs, and we've talked about manifesting and being. And I know that you're going to take us, oh gosh, light years away from what we've even been talking about. So we're excited to have you join us today. So just hang on, and we'll get started right about the top of the hour. And if anyone else wants to grab a quick drink or, coffee or something like that, whatever your brew is, we'll get started here in just a little while, since we've been live this whole time since 9 a.m. Pacific. Addison, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you all doing?
We're good. We're good. We're just we're doing the behind the scenes live thing before we get started with you. But we've had some fun on this line already. It's been amazing. We've got such a great group today. We're hoping that you brought some juicy stuff for us.
Yeah,
Right.
I have. I think we're going to talk about time and
excited.
timeline.
Yes. Give me 2 seconds.
Right.
Okay. All right, let me stop the stream.